Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to our program today, where we have an interesting topic: Think in Ink. Ideas are perishable, so write them down. With our speaker, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and a former monk. We have around 12 members on Zoom. People are still dialing in. Hopefully, they had a good Friday so far. And welcome back, Vaish. Thank you for leading us through another episode of Success Sadhana.
Thank you for such a warm welcome, JM. And great to see all of you. Ravi, Ankit, Sukanya, Joshua, Radha, Kripa, Subhadra, Vasant, Ariana, Tiffany, SG is here, and Srinivas. So just preparing to get on the Zoom today. Just now, I was closing a lot of windows. And as I was turning them off or reducing them, I was noticing how many I had open. And I was practically unaware how many I had open. It was, I'm sure, taking some of the memory. And what's more, they were all calling for my attention, one piled on the next. And that's how our minds can get, because we have many topics to consider. We have problems to solve, and we have some desktop space in our minds, and it can get a little cluttered up. Of course, we can only attend to one thing at a time proficiently. So what I thought is we could try closing some of those windows. And before we get started today on the topic, which JM also mentioned was Think in Ink, it has a metaphysical underpinning to it, I'm sure. We'll see how it unfolds as we talk about it. But it also has a very practical aspect about writing things down and manifesting, what manifesting means, what's the etymology of the word, what things have come into being from growth, from the subtle realm into the grossified realm. And so, if you're all up for it, why don't we start with a little introspection exercise? if you have a moment and you can find a place to sit or stand and just relax, loosen and lengthen, and try closing your eyes. Normally we close our eyes when we're about to go to sleep, but if you can do it now, that would be helpful. And I'm going to play some raga in the background, and then I'm going to do a little guided meditation for all of us. So here we go. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We're just going to enter into a little meditation. So wherever you may be, just find a comfortable place and try sitting comfortably. Put 2 feet on the floor if you can reach, and lengthen your spine just a little bit and close your eyes. And then we'll do some introspective exercise. So please close your eyes. And any windows you have open on your desktop in your mind, that is, I'm using a metaphor here, just close them up. Just let them go. You don't have to look at anything else right now. Just be there. And if you want an anchor, you can hold on to your breath and just notice that all day long we're breathing. Oxygen is free. The breathing apparatus works seamlessly, and it's nourishing all the cells in our body. It happens by higher arrangement. We don't have to do much. So just be aware of your own consciousness. Be aware that you're aware. Any other concerns are cloud-like. They just move on. But you're always here. The word is means that which remains. When everything else changes in this world, you'll be here. Things come and go. They always pass by, and we're always okay right here in this moment. When we're in material consciousness, we manifest various bodies to accommodate our desires. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the commentator, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada writes that karma means varied creation by the force of material consciousness. Whatever consciousness we develop will force us to work in a certain way, and material nature will accommodate us. So our practice here at Success Sadhana is to purify the consciousness. And here I'll be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. Just listen. One who sees the Supersoul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. When a sensible person sees to see different identities due to different material bodies, and they see how beings are expanded everywhere, they attain to the spiritual conception. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable consciousness is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, The consciousness neither does anything nor is entangled. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the consciousness situated in spiritual vision does not mix with the body, though situated within that body. Varied states of consciousness, even in a 24-hour period. There's waking consciousness, there's sleeping with dreams, and there's sleeping without dreams. These are 3 levels of conditioned consciousness. And then there's Turiya, the state in which we realize ourself as independent from the body. Even as we dream and sleep, we hover around the body, we're not exactly in it. And the body is never us, never has been, never will be. We simply stay with the body due to our various identifications with it and with this world. Through purification of consciousness, we come to understand that we're not part of the material nature, which is inert, because we're always consciousness and conscious. Anyone can take time to observe that we can objectify even our thoughts and therefore remain aloof from them, including emotions, fear, worry. These are all the churnings of the mind. And now in your mind's eye, you can embrace a mantra just to see how you can place your inward attention any place you like. See the 2 syllables, Ra-ma, converging into one word, Rama. And in your mind, repeat the mantra 3 times. And now notice that you have free will to point your attention anywhere you like. You could put it past this universe. You could put it in any part of your body. And where your attention goes, your energy will flow. And bring your attention back to your breath. And just feel all the sensations in your body and realize that you're the one noting the sensations in your body. Feel your fingers and your toes. Move them a little bit. And then very slowly open your eyes. You're really fortunate because we have the power of introspection. We're not bound to any state. We're actually free, but we attach ourselves in various ways that bind us and make us feel fearful. So the process of reclaiming, purifying our consciousness is the age-old system. It comes from the Upanishads that first show us how to objectify the world and our body, and then where to point our attention so we get the greatest benefit and are naturally aligned. That's called Bhakti Yoga. And the best way to align ourselves and to adhere to the ultimate object of meditation is through gratitude and love. Bhakti. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining. So today, JM, we're going to talk about thinking in ink. Everyone okay? Just need an emoji will do. JM's okay. Mukharavinda's okay. Kane is he's working in the surgery room or something, performing a surgery. Okay, fantastic. So this is a topic that's very dear to me. in a sense because it's something I employ on a regular basis. And let's start off right away with the subject slide, which mentions that we should think in ink. Now, where did this come from? I have a close friend, a colleague, who worked physically directly for my teacher when he was in India, and we received a lot of very important instructions. And one of them was that remembering means writing things down. So my subtitle here is that ideas are perishable. Have you ever had an idea that you noted and got excited about and thought, I'll think of it later, and then it disappeared, much like a random butterfly that flew into your garden and then just left and you never saw it again? Well, I have. And I always say to myself, or I have in the past said to myself, never again. And then that led to a habit, which is carrying always a pen and a notebook. For the purposes of walking around, being anywhere, I always have a small notebook like this, spiral notebook, where I can write things down. And I always have my favorite pen, which everybody knows is a Pentel RSVP fine tip BK90. This is a magic wand. You can take the ideas that are given to you as a gift and you can catch them in that little butterfly-like idea that comes out. Is like a little net. You can catch that idea and then write it down. So ideas will disintegrate. They may go away forever. Some write them down before they disappear and get into that habit. That's what I'm advocating for today. So what are they? They're invisible practically because what are ideas? Think about that for a second. Where do they come from? And what is their form? Practically, we can't see their form. They're invisible in our minds until they start taking shape. But we can take a vague thought, that is a thought that is ethereal, it's extremely subtle, and then we can put it into a form that we can see. So that's the literal meaning of manifest. It means, manifest means manus plus festus. So that is, manus means hand. Like when you say manual labor, that means to do something with your hands. And festus means to grab something. So literally to manifest is to make something so obvious it can be physically grasped. Thoughts, they're so subtle they could float away, they go somewhere else, and then you lose them. But when you use your hand and you write it down, write your idea down, either draw a picture or make a graph or write it in words, catch as much of it as you can. And I always thank myself later when I give a little more information so I have context because I have hundreds of notebooks that I've written in when I go back to look at them. Sometimes I wonder what I wrote or, or where I was or what I actually meant. Only about 10% of the time, but it's vexing nonetheless. So I've tried to train myself to make sure that when I write it down, I give it some context. But the principle is there. You'll thank yourself later for catching it. Catch that little butterfly. Put it in a place where you can revisit it. It can be very useful and beautiful. So there's been some scientific study about using your hand to write, very specifically. Handwriting creates neural conditions favorable for learning. Handwriting, that is writing with your hand, creates neural conditions. There was a study, and there have been several studies. This is one I'm citing here from Norwegian University of Science and Technology in 2024, but there are several more. I didn't bother to put them all in here. This is representative of several studies that have been done to show the benefits of writing, the hand to mind connection, the neural pathway becomes more pronounced and developed when you write by hand. I'm not trying to advocate that we don't use keyboards, and you'll see as we go forward that I'm not a Luddite. Next is that handwriting is an embodied cognitive process. Handwriting is an embodied cognitive process. That's an interesting phrase, that it's a cognitive process. And in the studies, the one I just cited, albeit in a perfunctory way, neuroscientists increasingly describe what writing is by hand, that it's a cognitive process. And you see from the picture here, from the hand to the mind through the eye, there's a convergence in the brain where you feel the writing, it's visceral. And so I'm going to stop there just for a second. It's a very practical subject. I wonder if any of you have developed a system for yourselves in which you have a habit of writing things down, catching your ideas. Anyone? Is this foreign to you, or is this something that you've been doing for a long time? Do you have a technique for catching your ideas? Do you have ideas that you'd like to catch? Kana.
Am I right? Um, yeah, I'm in the hospital right now. Um, yeah, I have an idea. I feel like on a scientific standpoint, anatomy wise, you create like a neuromuscular connection. Because I was born in 85, so I was in the era like transitioning from writing and cursive to computers. And I feel like when I went into college, it was all like computers, computers, but I remember more when I actually physically write it. And that's just my personal opinion. So I can type as much as I want, but it doesn't stick like when I write with script with my hand.
What do you generally write on or write with?
I write with just a regular pen. It has to be a fine point. And I just have little notepads of paper everywhere.
Uh-huh.
But I recently just got a spiral book, like what you're talking about, but I
Uh,
haven't got to doing it because I have papers all over the place, so I can never like track it.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's nice to have it bound up, but you resonate with the idea of writing it down, and you have that sense of that a connection with the mind through the body, that it's you take it in more deeply.
Yes,
Nice. Thanks, Kana.
thank you.
Anybody else want to bear witness to your process, or if you've taken up anything like this to catch ideas, to write them down, to manifest what you're thinking in writing? This little notebook I keep doesn't even have a brand name on it. That's why I ordered so many of them, because I know things, companies come and go out of business, but I really like it because it has a spiral side, and if I need to pull a page off, I can. And it's pretty thick, so this lasts me a while. I always put the date on the outside of the pad, so if I have a collection of these, I can go back and remember what time period it's from if I'm trying to locate something. Okay, so a few more thoughts. Thinking with the pen, publish. Yes, Manu, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think I wanted to share also that like I mean it's hard to maintain when you have a kid around. I did try to hide it in my closet, but sometimes it gets all over the place. But I have noticed that when I write it down and when I go look back, I feel like, was it me writing this down? Like I get surprised a lot of times that so many ideas or so many points that I note down, it reveals so much more than. Um, and also I feel like it's not the same when you type versus writing. And also, like, if there is so much anxiety in your mind and different things, when your mind is running, I feel writing it down also calms me down, like, brings my energy down, and like I feel more grounded, and I feel more relieved also. So just
Yeah, very interesting. And your daughter finds the notebook and also writes in it or puts it somewhere else?
she takes it and she's like, this is mine now.
Well, I noted too that kids love to write stuff. If they have some pencils, colored pencils or a paper, they're always creating. And for that, I have this for myself. I always travel with a pad that's this big also. I have several sizes. And this pad, this is called mixed media. And you can paint on this if you want to, but you can also write. And it gives me a lot of freedom because there's lots of room on this. And I can also draw pictures and things like that. So I feel like, I notice kids, they're constantly creating. Like a lot of times when I'm giving a class somewhere and there are kids in the class, they come up to me afterwards and they'll hand me the uh, picture they drew. And there's also one very talented young woman. Actually, she just turned 16, but she's been attending classes for a long time. She's in London now, but I have a portfolio of the things, the way she takes notes in a class, as she's a good artist. She'll write almost what looks like a comic strip, with little frames. And it's it's an enactment, physical, showing, different characters, and just like you'd see in a comic strip or something like that. That's how she expresses it. And it's amazing how easy it is to remember the whole concept when you draw something like that. Somebody had their hand up. Who
There was
was?
a couple of them. One was Nirman and second was Akanksha.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to miss you. Sorry, I kept blabbing. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My name is Nirman. Uh, the points that you made really hit home. As someone who has ADHD and is getting grip on it, I find myself writing multiple lists along with on the board. And then when the time comes, I can't find any of it. So I am getting more organized. I had a professor visit a friend of ours from Maine, and she showed me something called bullet journaling. So I ordered myself one notebook that I will keep with me and have everything written down, just like you keep a spiral notebook and have it with you present at all times. So this is what I'm going to experiment with and try and get more organized.
Yeah, I can relate with that. You write things down, then where to find them again. So one thing that it really helps me with that is to do a review process. I set a little time every week, at least once a week, and sometimes more, to go through the notes, and then I highlight things. And of course, the next slide, which you don't have to put up yet, but I'll just tell you about it, from the pen to the keyboard. One invaluable way I've found of transcribing all my notes, which you probably guess already, is to use AI. And for instance, a whole page like this, if I write a whole page out like this, or 2 pages, and I just take a photograph of it and put it into, say, ChatGPT, for instance, it'll just figure it all out. And then I could, from the written page, and digitize it and then organize it. But one thing that's even in the notebooks, I go through the highlighter and the things I really want to keep, like there's some key points, maybe 10% of the things are just, I'm going to keep it forever. The other ones are like, I don't know, I don't even know what it means, or it's something been done before, it's already prevalent. But the review process really helps me a lot too. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Nirman. Who else had their hand up, JM?
Akanksha.
Oh, okay, great. Akansha and then Ravi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So about like in a just prior to me, I think it was let's see, someone brought up this topic about ADHD. So about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and my doctor actually told me to maintain a list of top 3 things.
A list of top what? I
You
think
went mute, Akanksha. I don't know if it was accidentally pressed.
Okay. Is it better now?
yes.
Okay, yeah. So 10 years ago, my doctor asked me to start creating a list of top 3 things which I want to accomplish in a day. And gradually it increased to 10. So right now I'm at 10 things that I want to complete in a day. And that start my day with writing that list, and it has really helped me a lot. So I think compiling what you want to do in a day it definitely helps out. It has helped me on staying on track, at least, especially with kids. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Kansha. There's one thing about I mentioned in the first part of the talk is about how we may keep many pages open on our desktop, metaphorically in our mind, and getting them out of our mind onto paper can be really helpful because then they're not using up so much of our energy and distracting our attention. What to speak of putting down your top 3 priorities and now top 10, it can be so motivating. And once it's in writing, it's gone from the subtle level to a more grossified level where it's starting to manifest already. Ravi.
Yes, yeah. So I, like singing songs, kind. So what I do is, like when I want to say something good about a person on a particular event of that person, what I do is, irrespective of any time, even if it is midnight, when I get an idea, I will write in the binder book, right? And then keep keep writing the script of that song. Like there will be multiple iterations, kind refinements. So I keep looking it back, kind and see everything, and then see looking at the person's background, everything. Am I going in the right direction? Because I have trace of all how I'm writing, so I finally come to a very good song on the person and then sing for that person, right? So that's how I basically, like follow, writing in a book, in a binder book, and then coming out with the final version of it. So I just wanted to
Amazing.
share, yeah.
I love that, Ravi. Yes. In a book I'm reading called Fluent Forever, the author talks about learning languages and also about memorization in general. And your technique sounds like one of those very effective ways to remember things also. Because if you're attentive enough and absorbed enough to write something in lyric or song, then very likely it's being ingrained in your mind and you're going to be able to remember it more clearly. That's such
Yes,
a
yes.
creative thing. I love it. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, and SG up there on the board, JM made a
Yeah.
comment.
SG says if you have iPad mini, you can write with pencil and it will automatically be stored on the cloud, and lot of tracking automatically happens for you. Retrieval also becomes easy.
Oh, thanks for reminding me, SG, because I do have an iPad mini and somebody gave me a pen, but I haven't used it yet. It's right here. I'm going to pull it out since you mentioned it. I should actually do that. There it is. My iPad mini pen that I haven't used yet. Thank you. Okay, fantastic. So let's look at a few more things. Slide number 7 goes into transferring what we've written into technology. And I already mentioned how I use AI, and we have SG talking about using the iPad mini, and then it gets digitally preserved. And that's an option so that you have your idea saved in a couple of places. You can always come back to it. And a mantra for this whole thing is in slide 8 about have a place for your ideas to land. If you get in that habit, then your mind becomes much more productive because you'll actually be looking for ideas. In fact, I saw a documentary about the creation of one of the most successful television programs that was ever made. And it was a situation comedy called Seinfeld. And one of the producers, there were two, Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David. And Larry David, there's a description of him. He had a very intense job because he had to write and extract from his writers material for a weekly semi-live program. And so the way they described Larry David was always carrying a notebook. He always had it in his hand and he always had a pen. And he was just looking for material. Anything that was funny, any situation he found amusing, he'd write it down and then get it translated into, like Ravi does. Ravi makes it into a song. He would make it into a TV show that would be like 25 minutes long. And so if you get in this habit of capturing your ideas by having a place for it to land, it becomes your main tool for growth, or a tool for growth. And make sure you capture them as soon as they come. So you see this person on the getting ready to join the subway. There's a lot you can do in the gaps with writing in your book. If you have a booklet and you can pull out your pen, I just keep mine in hand so I can pull it out at any time. But make sure you don't wait too long. Catch it as soon as you can. My friends always notice when I'm having a conversation, they can tell when they're saying something that I like because I start pulling out my pad and writing it down and they go, okay, maybe I'm saying something you like. Okay, now just a little philosophical, but starting off with Leonardo da Vinci. And you'll see the sketch he made of a helicopter before there were modern helicopters. That's an image of his sketch watermarked there. Of course, AI turned it into something modern looking. But his helicopter, he wrote on paper. He had it in his mind that there could be a way in which people could transport themselves from one place to another. And he drew that up. And it was a rough idea on paper. I think he was pretty good at drawing and painting. And it became a regular and very a useful tool for a lot of people. So just talking in general, if we can come back to the Zoom for a second, related to what's in our lives, what we have now and what we will have in the future. The Bhagavad Gita mentions how we are creating our own next environment by the ways in which we are developing our minds. This is one of the themes of the Bhagavad Gita, is that we are creative. And we may ask, rightly, why are we in the situation we're in now? And so the answer in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna gives is that we've developed our minds in a particular way. And material nature is powerful. And it's responsive to us and our consciousness. Patanjali Muni, who thousands of years ago wrote a book on psychology and how it relates to the manifestations that we have in our lives, mentions that when we leave this present physical body, the material nature then interprets all of the impressions we have in our mind and the overall feeling that we have when we leave this world. And then it fills it in and it gives us a new physical gross body accordingly. And this is described in detail in 8th chapter, 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where the kind of nose, notice that you have a particular kind of nose. You might have not noticed it recently, or a certain kind of ear or eyes. Your eyes are different from a fruit fly's eyes. I looked at a magnification of fruit fly because I was talking about how cute they are the other day. But then when I looked at the magnification, I thought it's not as cute as I thought. But in any case, fruit flies have specific eyes that were given to them by the material nature as an accommodation. We have a particular kind of eye. So one may then ask, well, why did I get a particular kind of eye, a set of eyes? And these wisdom literatures answer that it's an accommodation of our consciousness. It's a way that we've developed the way in which we've developed our consciousness is then filled in. So it's as if you made a impression with your foot in the wet sand and then filled it in with plaster of Paris, you'd get a perfect rendering of your foot. And in a similar way, our consciousness is what carries us or attracts to us our next physical body. This all goes to say that we're always in the creative process, and we're a lot more creative and powerful than we know. We may turn off that system and forget to create and to just let things happen to us and just take in random information. So I'm taking from this point of Leonardo da Vinci that he had an idea, he conceived of, he was creative. And how did he express his creative nature? He would write it down and for posterity, and then it became manifest as a useful tool. So how many ways are we creating our next body or whatever is in our environment? It's called Atma Kritam. It's what we are doing. So this is a refined way, or a way of refining how we move in the world by being very deliberate and writing things down. This is what I'm trying to present, is one of the ways of being very conscious about what we're thinking and where our mind's going, and also going in a predetermined direction, the way we want to go, by writing it down. So that comes to also writing goals, priorities, and so forth. For instance, I have always in front of me on my desk a list of all my priorities, and they're always ready at hand, because in a 24-hour period, I can forget my priorities. But because I've taken my intentions, I've written them down very clearly, and I have a list, now I can go through and review and recall them and stay on track. So I'm saying that this is a manifestation tool, and it is also the way in which we can direct ourselves to the next level of consciousness and environment by intention. Well, I waxed slightly philosophical at that point, but in the meantime, I see somebody put up the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and there it was. Okay, JM, there's a few more slides.
I did add your Leonardo image also on the slide.
I saw that. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So you can take a simple thought, which may be a little rough, and there's a starting off place that by which you can use that as a thesis and then develop it. Any idea that you come up with can be developed. You just have to look at it and then think about how it relates to the ways in which you want to move in the world. So the next slide is about inspirations. Speaking of inspirations and writing, for instance, an inspiration might be you think of a person who's inspired you. And if you take a moment to write something Like even a few words, if you wrote somebody a note, what would be the effect? I wrote this about this in the first book I wrote called Our Family Business. When I was in Burton School in grade school and I just learned to write. I had come home from school and I wanted to go see my friend Lance, who lived a few houses up. But my mother was not home at the moment, so I used my new writing skill to write her a note. And it said, "I at Lance." That's all I knew how to write. And I went off to Lance's house. And when I came home, my mother was so pleased. She celebrated the fact that I left her a note with 3 words on it. And she saved it. After she passed, I was going through her stuff and I found that note. She had kept it in a special box because it was so important to her. So when you have an inspiration, put it down. If you're inspired by somebody particularly, you might write it down and send them a note. It could change their lives. Just a few words of inspiration to people. That goes for if you're in a family, or if you're managing a team somewhere, corporate, if you want to just randomly, if you meet somebody who does something for you and you write them a note, it's amazing because people are waiting for anything personal. For instance, in advertising, you'll notice when you get mail in your mailbox, generally these days it's machine generated. But what if you saw something that was handwritten? Would that be the first thing you'd look at? I think so. Because you notice somebody took the trouble to actually write me something. And so use your power of the pen, of the written word, to inspire other people, to appreciate other people. You'll notice that it will change your relationship with them significantly that you took the trouble to write it down. Email, maybe not so much. That's something, but handwritten, it takes on a special quality. And the creative process itself strengthens your mind. So if you get in the habit of writing and expanding on it, and maybe even getting more creative, turning into a picture, you can see in the next slide, expanding your imagination, and then taking time, slide 16, and extracting the lessons that are hidden in everyday life. Because if you take your life not just for living, but as a learning experience, you just take every day, what can I learn? And then you start recording what you're seeing, what metaphors you see in nature, for instance, or you might hear something somebody says. So here's my other notebook. This one's thicker and more stable. And in it, I have my goals in the back, yearly goals. And then I have a whole section for really interesting words or things I hear people say. And I put it in that section. It's so valuable. You read something, a phrase, or a way somebody used a word, and if you write it down, you can go back and review that, and then it becomes part of your repertoire. And what to speak of if you see something that makes a difference to you in the world, an image, and then you take a moment to jot it down and what it meant to you. You extract a lesson from the world. JM, Akanksha said something about Anne Frank.
Yeah, Akansha says, Anne Frank wanted to be a writer. She wrote in a diary without knowing that her diary would become the most sold book in the world.
Ha! That's great. Well, it just goes back to the old saying, writers write. Everyone thinks like, I want to be a writer. It's like, okay, just write. Then you're a writer. And that's what most accomplished writers say too, is just get to it, would you? And one of the ways to just get to it is always be writing. And if you're writing for yourself and you're not worried about, oh, what's this going to be published or something like that, then you're more at ease to write down whatever you see, whatever you hear. Vicky, is this resonating with you?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, small ideas carefully cultivated often become your greatest contributions. You may think it's a small thing, but then it can become something that you can offer as an insight in many different places. For instance, years ago, I came in contact with this phrase, where attention goes, energy flows. I wrote it in my book and I brought it home. And then I just like, I've been using it for years, and practically wherever I go, people come up to me and they say, where attention goes, energy flows. And you don't know, one sentence could expand your horizons in ways you're not expecting. And it's about notebooks in general. It's miraculous that we have the opportunity to write. I was just in the museum, British Museum in London, and I was looking at the book section and how I didn't do that emoji. It was accidental. I can't help it. There were so many books in there written by hand. And I also had the privilege of holding one of the pens, not from the museum, but a private owner had a pen of one of my favorite authors. And I was holding it in my hand and I was thinking, wow, how many thoughts came through this pen? And I thought about ways in which notebooks were not so easily attainable at that time, at a certain time in history. What to speak of pens? All the pens I looked at that were very old, they were fountain pens. You had to draw ink into them. These are, I mean, just so readily available. We can just take it for granted and think, it's just a pen. It's no big deal. But it is a big deal. And so your notebook can become one of the central places for you to bring your ideas together, to create them. It can guide your life. And I can say that this book that has my goals in it and my prayers that I wrote by hand, it's a source of solace for me, because life is so overwhelming at times. And you think, what am I going to do next? And I say, I know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to open my book and see what I'm supposed to do. When I was in my right mind, I wrote this down, and now I'm going to follow it. And next thing you know, I'm back on track. So this is not nothing. This is a guiding principle. It's kind of like your own constitution. And that leaves us to time for a few reflections. Reflections mean anything you heard that stuck with you, or some thought, idea that you might like to try yourself, or something you're already doing that you can tell us about.
Or any of the stories that you heard that you liked. Go ahead, Sundar.
Radhakripa, always dependable. Yes, and then Sundar is there, so that's a big deal. Okay, go ahead, Radhakripa.
Yes, I wanted to share my father-in-law who is a professor in the Engineering Technical Institute. His note writing skills is really amazing. And what even after retiring, he used to rewrite his own notes even after retiring. And then he utilized those notes to teach the underprivileged kids, even after retiring. So the writing and then rewriting and seeing the same notes rewritten. And I preserved one of the old letters which he wrote to my son. When I shared with him, he was like amazed to see how in detail, in the beauty, you could feel rather than mere message on an email that you feel connected, to the core of that person. So I just thought to
Did I
share
see
that
those?
fact.
Do you have them somewhere I could look at them sometime?
Yes, I will. I will share it with you.
I would really like to see that. How revealing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, there's some recorded history of when people used to write exclusively by hand, and some of the handwriting is so meticulous that there's a story of a king who had received some manuscripts that were written by hand by a famous teacher of yoga. And it's mentioned in the story that as soon as he saw the writing itself, this is related to what you were just saying, that as a witnessing the writing itself, besides what the content was, it changed his heart. He suddenly had a new insight into the meaning of life just from seeing the script itself, how powerful it is. Sundar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful talk. I really like the point about how you give so much importance to what you had written down. I was just thinking in my own life, I do write down at times about how to take my life forward and what are the areas to improve and so on and so forth. But I hardly look at them again. So, but I think one lesson that I take from this talk is to look at them uh, at a regular basis, and remind ourselves that yeah, these are some guidelines that I wrote for my own life and ideas that I want to pursue, and remind ourselves of that again and again. So thank you for that point.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us of that point, Sundar. It is it seems like heavy lifting, but actually it's a joy, and it's more of a developing the habit for it. It's something that David Allen brings up in his book, Getting Things Done, which is a brilliant book. And in it, he talks about the review process being so essential. As we collect so many things, so many ideas, so many to-dos and everything like that, he said, keep them all in one place, but also make time to every week at least to go through all of them and then decide what to do with all of them and have a place for them to go. If you create that continuing process, then you get the full effect of capturing the notes, and you don't become frustrated, like, oh, what am I going to do with it anyway? Kana had something and SG wrote something. Kana, why don't you go ahead, since you're about to go into surgery or something?
um, when you were talking about Mirage, like how the nose, like the things that we do in this life from the Bhagavad Gita sets us up for our next life, which that really resonated with me because that, I mean, I've always felt that, and then when I read it in the Bhagavad Gita, and you bringing it up, it's true. It's like I don't know, I would feel like this is like a training ground for the next level.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's what Krishna mentions in that section, is that people who are trained to understand what the process of developing oneself is and how one develops the next body. They can very deliberately work on themselves. Otherwise, it just becomes random and you get what you get. So it's
Yeah.
an exciting prospect that we can determine our own destination. And part of it is by being very deliberate in catching the best of ideas and then imbibing them, taking it in and changing the course of our lives. Certainly making the list of your priorities and goals and then reviewing it daily can be a life-changing experience. And what
Yeah,
to speak of, when we leave our body.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kana.
Thank you.
Okay, 2 more on the board, JM, and then I think then we're out.
Yeah, so SG says, in case anyone gets idea in the middle of the night, just keep a paper and pen next to you and scribble something so you don't forget by morning.
Brilliant, because we do a lot of our processing in our sleep. I have an article about that my mother gave me years ago about the importance of sleep and study. Is when you're studying, you also have to sleep because a lot of it becomes congealed, the ideas and so forth. Have you all had that experience? If you're intently processing something, you're learning something, when you're sleeping, then it all comes together. Interesting, the states of consciousness, and we can note them. One of the most unique states of consciousness that I get to experience a lot is jet lag. It's a liminal state. I feel absolutely lucid and creative. In fact, I have to be careful what I buy online at that time when I have jet lag, because I'll buy all these books and all kinds of stuff. Because yeah, I'm going to study this now. There was Radhakripa, and then one more on the board. Go ahead, Radhakripa.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my younger brother, who is does very deep technical work in architect side. He actually told me, I'm not sure whether he's in the call right now, but he mentioned that sometime when he's thinking about something and when he's sleeping, he has solved the problem actually. So it's actually the real story. I will ask him to actually share next time, ask him to join the call. So
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I resonate with that. The sooner I can start processing it and have enough sleep cycles, the more it's likely to get worked out. JM, we better read them before more come on there. We'll never come off now. Okay, go ahead.
Akanksha says, my kids leave these notes every day for me, no matter how angry or annoyed I am throughout the course of the day. Their notes just melts away all the annoyance and noise of the day.
Okay, homework. Everyone has to write a note today to a significant other. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Nirali says, realize that I do move around randomly in life and let things happen, hoping divine is doing the right for me.
Yeah.
And then
We have,
SG says, both sleep or in shower, I think.
yeah, there are different states of learning. That's also something in different environments. Once we have that idea and we process it and look at it and at different times and spaces, it tends to go in more deeply. More to be said about that. That's something we could talk about, memorizing and memory also and how it works. There's some really good structured thoughts on that. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And again, as a review, different kinds of notebooks. This is, I should leave a link for this. This is the best notebook I ever had. It's a little spiral. I don't know the name of it because it doesn't have a brand name, but it's good. And then these ones, Moleskin makes this one. There's a few others that first class notebooks will hold up. They even have little markers in them. And then for a more expansive time when you need to scribble and write things, you can get these mixed media. Bien Fang. It's a good brand. I highly recommend. And I don't get any cut from their sales. Thanks, JM, for keeping the lights on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, Kana, for joining us from the middle of the surgery venue. And great to see you all. And I hope there was a few ideas. I know I inspired myself. There's a few things I'm going to take away from this when I get off of here. One of them is what Sundar brought up is the review process. The more I put into that, the more likely I am to keep writing things because then I know I'm going to use them. Oh, and JM, a ritual for leaving. The yogis high in the Himalayas, you can imagine them, they're sitting deeply in meditation. They come into the bright light, and if they see a colleague or two, they want to express themselves, joy from their heart. So they have this phrase, Hari Bol, and it means really keep chanting, keep the meditation going. Why don't we do that for one another before we leave? What do you say?
Yes.
I'm doing it. Haribo.
Haribo!
Bye.
Haribo!
See you soon.
Thank you.
Keep,
Haribo!
keep catching ideas.